The power fantasy of beating the shit out of fantasy monsters has never been represented more recently than with Dragon's Dogma 2. Focusing on each monster's weaknesses, climbing on top of them to deal more damage, cutting off limbs and parts of their bodies, it's all so goddamn fun. I have been excited for Dragon's Dogma 2 ever since I saw the trailer for it, which prompted me to play the first one, which by then was called Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, which was just the first game that was just mixed together with its expansion, which honestly, for me, I loved it to pieces and I covered it on the channel. It'll be somewhere on the channel. I'll probably link it in the description below if you want to watch it and see my opinions on it, but the game is baller. The first one, I'm pretty sure you can get it on PS5, PS4, and on Xbox, wherever it's still available now. Before we get more in depth about Dragon Dogma 2's good, let's get into the bad and the controversial. The game launching damn near unplayable for my PC brothers out there, for my PC brethren out there. I am sorry. Let me tell you that I felt horrible for my fellow PC friends out there who cannot play the game. I got it mainly on PS5 because that's what I mainly play, because my PC is kind of dog shit. However, the game shouldn't have come out in that state that it did, and basically making it unplayable for many, which fucking sucks for many people. And I'm pretty sure by now it's gotten better. If not, that still is not acceptable at all. And yeah, that shit sucks. Now, about those microtransactions. Have you guys never seen the microtransaction side of Capcom? That shit is insane. Most of it is pretty much just stuff you can earn in the game, while others are just cosmetics. However, it doesn't really excuse having them in a single player game like Dragon's Dogma 2 and even Devil May Cry 5. If you just go ahead and look at Devil May Cry and see their microtransactions, you can get the bloodstones. I forget what they're called. It's been such a long time since I played Devil May Cry, but the red and the blue and all the currency essentially to get better moves and everything, you can essentially buy those in what was it, Monster Hunter. You can go ahead and get better hairdos and different cosmetics for your dogs or whatever. I don't really care about the microtransactions because, as someone who has played Capcom games and don't really buy into them, the microtransactions, I don't really care about that side. I totally ignore it, but I totally understand that they don't really have a place here, especially with people who just got into the whole series of Capcom games and stuff like that and just barely noticing it all. And it makes sense that you guys are upset about it and think it's fucking stupid. Don't get us wrong, we think it's stupid too. We just don't buy the shit. We just enjoy the game and that's it. And like I said, Dragon's Dogma is a good game. Then there's the whole storm of certain early access reviewers being told about them and some not, and it's just a whole can of worms in itself. Fans of Capcom know about their microtransactions, like I said, and they don't really buy into that shit. They don't really care. And it just goes to show how much range Dragon's Dogma 2 has had in terms of interest, because so many people who probably aren't really familiar with Capcom games got interested in the game, and they looked at the microtransactions, they're like, whoa, what the fuck? And a lot of the normal fans yeah, this shit's stupid, but we normally don't buy the shit. So it's definitely a debacle in that sort of aspect of the game. I'm not gonna lie to you. Now, when it comes to the Dragon's Blight, personally, I think the implication is borderline useless and just detrimental to your own save, which fucking sucks, right? Dragon's Blight or Dragon's Plague or whatever is borderline just stupid, right? Killing everyone in town. What if I got shit to do in that town? I can't revive everyone, god damn it. What the fuck is going on? If they were to have made it to where the Dragon's Plague actually was a big thing to worry about narratively, then it would have been cool to see the growing changes of my pawn as I progressed through the story. Sure, we had that cutscene at the end, but the Dragon's Plague adds a chaotic element to the game where your pawns are basically just ticking time bombs, and you really don't know when they're just gonna blow, if that makes any sense, right? Which I think was just a waste of time and effort to put this sort of thing here. Maybe if the Dragon's Plague also was like a lure for other dragon akin monsters to attack you more, and be used as a narrative piece, or have pawns become something akin to dragoons, humanoid dragons who are incredibly powerful, but you have to be a certain level to get them or defeat them in their own corrupted form. I think that would have been really badass. There is a bit more bad, or mediocre I should say, but we will get to that when we get to that, right? So let's focus a bit on the good. Now look, I am a simple guy. I see large sword and the neurons in my brain start activating to swing it and, lop off the heads of some goblins, right? That being said, the biggest draw to Dragon's Dogma is the combat. It is so damn fun to beat the shit out of monsters. My favorite methods of, monster hunting is throwing humanoid monsters off mountaintops. I thought that shit was pretty funny. Going ahead and throwing them off mountains and just watching them just hit the ground, and, I laugh, and then I go back to going ahead and beating the shit out of his friends. So I think this whole thing, it's a fun time, and, hey, fuck them goblins, right? When it comes to vocations, I did the fighter vocation into the warrior vocation as the Dragon of Dogma, Kazuma Kiryu, with my main pawn, who was a thief, Goro Majima. It was a sort of meme that I sort of thought up. I asked the homies what sort of dumbass shit I should do. For Starfield, I was Baki Hanma, and here I am the Dragon of Dogma here. So, hey, I had fun. I had fun with it, right? But with Goro Majima here, I battled all types of monsters, from the Gorgon to Dragon Akin monsters to the dragon himself, my dragon. Weirdly enough, I never encountered a Chimera for some reason. The Sphinx is a unique monster I didn't encounter or didn't really care much to go find. I didn't even know Doulahan was in the game because there's almost no reason to travel during the night unless for a minor quest. You would just set up camp and skip the night cycle because there are campsites literally all over the goddamn place. So why would I just walk around in the dark? Fuck all that. If there were spars and were like bonfires from Dark Souls where they offer real protection during the night when traveling, that would make the game much more challenging, I think. Cool, awesome action adventure game at day, scary, terrifying Dark Souls sort of game at night. I think that would have been a real cool dynamic, but hey, it's whatever. Weirdly enough, for all the monsters they throw at you in the game, the only real variety you see is with the minor enemies you see, right? Like, the goblins, the lizard humanoid things, right? I forget their name. The harpies, the wolves, right? The larger monsters you fight don't really have much variety. Even if you want variety, you have to go find it damn near. I fought 2 armored fucking Cyclopses and a Griffin, which was cool shit. It was cool shit to fight them all at the same time. But I like more fights than just a Griffin that flies away most of the fucking time. What the fuck? And Cyclopses and Ogres and stuff. That there is a slight difference. Like, cool, like, yeah, the Ogres have, not the Ogres, the Cyclopses have armor sometimes. But I want more. I want to see more of, like, the unique monsters when it comes to them. But sometimes, like, even if you do encounter them, there's really no real difference. So yeah, that's not good. That's not good. Like I said, Ogres and Cyclopses were the norm. I think I fought 1 Minotaur and maybe 1 to 3 or 4 Drakes, and that's really it. And there's a substantial amount of monsters in Dark Arisen than Dragon's Dogma 2. I know it's a bit unfair to compare a game that's also put together with an expansion to a game barely a month old, but to be fair, there are plenty of monsters that would have made the game feel much more diverse and alive in terms of monster slaying, especially when tied to different quests. And they had so much time in between. I don't know. It's just, I think they try to perfect this game in such a way that they could add more and more to it. This is a good game as a base. However, like, I'm pretty sure most people would just play this game a couple times, just go ahead and New Game Plus it here and there and just have fun, explore, fight battles, do whatever. But a majority of people probably won't. They probably just one and done it. If they would have had it to where a lot of the combat is so dynamic and so, I don't know, spontaneous, right? Where you can just be walking around and you can see like a Minotaur fighting an ogre over here or whatever, right? I think it would be very interesting to see like so many battles when it comes to NPCs out in the field than just, you know, you're just out there doing stuff. And, you know, most of the main quest is very sort of linear. And I don't know. It's just, I feel like this is a good base, Dragon's Dogma 2, to add like multiple expansions and so much more, but we will see. We will see. Speaking of quests and story, the story for this game was interesting. Working to find evidence against the Queen Regent who kidnapped you so she can stay in power? Cool shit. The whole story itself was pretty neat, as it was a wonderful way to have branching quests from the paths you take and meet different people. I sort of think that they kind of left the Queen Regent, unless, you know, I didn't do a certain quest or whatever to kind of kick her off the seat, right? And actually come to blows with her. I would have loved the sort of like maybe civil war where you know, you against her, like your forces against her and so on. I thought that could have been cool, even if it was like a low-key little battle. But when it comes to Dragon's Dogma 2, unlike Dark Arisen, like, you know, sometimes you're tasked with hunting monsters and criminals in Dark Arisen, but here in Dragon's Dogma 2 it's a bit more linear, and I don't really like that, because I definitely would have loved more side quests, like individual monster hunting missions to take on, and just overall more side quests to help me explore more of the world, because once you travel the main roads and you're able to pay for transportation, it's a way too easy to get to A to B, and it just doesn't allow you to really explore, especially when most of the missions are just in between cities, and, you know, they're not really that far off from the main path, and you're just doing stuff, right? So I think that's where Dragon's Dogma 2 sort of lacks in terms of mission variety and monster variety. Hell, I'd love for actual dungeons to run in the game. That's one of the biggest things I think Dragon's Dogma 2 really lacks, is the dungeons. Sure, we had the caves and shit like that, but those are just fucking caves. I don't care about that shit. But Dark Arisen dabbled a bit into like the whole multi-dungeon with multiple boss monsters in them sort of thing at the end of the game, which was so goddamn fun and interesting. That and the potentially, you know, becoming God and defeating the Arisen who previously became God that you played at the beginning of the game as a sort of tutorial. That shit was neat. But here, when it comes to the story, this is where I get back to the main story, right? I think it was pretty interesting. However, the events leading up to the dragon fight left me wondering why. Like, big ass statue thing that we sort of take down just to follow some asshole who was just a fuckboy with the Queen Regent, by the way, into the tower, who was trying to control the dragon, actively trying to go against the rules of the world, or should I say the dragon's dogma, right? Yeah, and he just gets shit on later on. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the mercenary who was guarding him, the guy who was like so excited for the next time that we might fight or whatever, I just smacked him off the bridge. We had our quote-unquote duel on. I didn't give a shit. The dude was so excited, I just sort of smacked him off the bridge to his untimely death. And I just I thought it was funny. I said fuck him, right? But then the fight with the guy's party, with the fuckboy's party, and yeah, his name escapes me. I don't give a shit about him. I'm gonna just call him Lord Farquaad. And you know, I didn't even get to defeat all of his fucking party members because of a cutscene. I was annoyed by it because I don't like having my fights interrupted because of a fucking cutscene. The whole fight was interrupted, and I'm like, oh, okay. But your dragon would appear falling down like the intro of the first game, introducing the dragon, right? Which was pretty fucking badass, I'm not gonna lie. Then he crushes everybody, he crushes Lord Farquaad, and he just goes ahead and comes up to you, says, hey, you can fight me now, and you can leave. I can just kill this dude, the guy that is helping you, you know, fight the Queen Regent. And, you know, I obviously chose to fight him, and he would take me to our battlefield to fight. And we had like a nice little fight there. He had a nice little speech, very nice. My issue is that the end fight wasn't really that difficult at all. I was kind of disappointed by it. I was a warrior, by the way. I couldn't really hit shit. I had to really wait for the opportunity for his heart to open. His attack patterns were really predictable, and overall the fight wasn't that fun. Maybe it was my vocation, but I couldn't really fight him like I really wanted to. I don't remember Dark Arisen being like this either, because I know I was a fucking warrior then when I fought him for the first time. It felt like Dark Arisen's fight was like a little bit more, was way more fun and intense. The dragon chasing you through the castle, attacking parts of it and and attacking you in an enclosed space, running along the wall to the ballista to bring it down, to finally fight and ultimately kill it. It was also goddamn epic, and I didn't get that here. The presentation, it wasn't that good, cause I don't know. It was sort of, it felt rushed, right? It felt rushed because when you kill the dragon and all that, you sort of just teleport. It's just a whole little time forward sort of thing, to where like it's the party and you know you can sit on your throne and whatever. I know that was like supposed to be some sort of like segue into like the true ending, but I'm like this is it. Like, come on, man. Well, my dumb, simple brain totally missed the chance for the true ending. I know, stupid, I know. The game even told me 3 times, are you sure you want to go ahead and a New Game Plus this way? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I was so fucking tired. But I know that the true ending, like there's a whole like red mist that is swallowing up the map and fighting more monsters along the way. Some new side quests or missions would be, you know, available, and after a certain amount of requirements, like killing a bunch of monsters or whatever, you face your dragon. You face the dragon, right? Although I've just seen the super bosses that are essentially just, you know, they're gimmick bosses, like they're called the Pergineers or whatever. Just gimmick bosses, which I thought was okay, cool presentation and all, though. I thought that shit was cool. Personally, I would have rather enjoyed the tower where we first found the dragon, where fucking Lord Farquaad ran up. And I would rather that be like a big old dungeon crawl where you fight the Pergineers there, Hydras and so on, and fighting your dragon after going through a whole crazy trial by combat gauntlet, and having the enslavement camp be your place, be your hub, and heal and get items and stuff like that. I think that would be more interesting than what we got. But hey, I'm not the dev or whatever, but you know what we got was cool from what I saw, right? I don't have the time to go ahead and play the game all over again and get back to that point, but sooner or later I'll go back to that point. But I don't know. I think it's pretty cool overall. Personally, I think the character creator is one of the most best parts about the game. The combat is obviously great. The story is decent until the last part. The world is interesting. It just needs more enemy variety and quest variety, and you know, just help me reach everything around the world and maybe expand it a little bit into other countries or whatever. The game is good. It is a solid 8 out of 10. I just hope when the expansion comes, it adds so much more to the game. Fuck, I'd love a pugilist vocation and properly beat the shit out of people and monsters as Kazuma Kiryu. Honestly, I'd love it if there was a way for multiplayer to happen in the game, and joining a friend by taking over your main pawn and joining his world. That would be pretty sick if they somehow implemented that. I think if they really wanted to, they could have added more to the game before it even released, but maybe they just didn't want to go full force and add what they wanted to as DLC. Who knows, but for now, Dragon's Dogma 2 is a good game. It is a good base for more to be, you know, seen, I suppose, right? What are your thoughts on the game? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? What are your experiences with the game? I'd love to hear it all. That'll be all for today, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and healthy mentally, emotionally, and physically. See you later, and I hope you enjoyed the clips I had in the video. See you guys next time.